Israel is a desert nation with a very low annual rainfall. Yet through innovation and engineering, Israel has become a water superpower. Here to tell us how Israel's approach to water can help the rest of the world avoid disastrous water shortages is Seth Siegel, author of Let There Be Water, Israel's Solution for a Water-Starved World. Well, why is Israel a model for how the rest of the world could better approach managing its water supply?
Lori, the first and most important thing is that Israel's been doing it longer than anybody else. Starting even before it was a state, starting in the mid-1930s, Israel understood that its destiny was tied to success in water management. And so therefore, long before anyone else was thinking about it in the way Israel was, Israel came up with technologies, with governance, with legislation that assured itself of a secure, even abundant water present.
Well, we've been seeing on the news for weeks and months that California is experiencing a drought right now. It's a terrible crisis. What ways are Israelis helping California leaders deal with their crisis?
Well, first of all, you have to understand California's crisis, in some extent, is a self-inflicted wound. Because of the fact that the government and leadership failed to plan for this far enough in advance, California is now paying a price with flawed agricultural policy, flawed governance, flawed legislation. It's a bad process. But something that's smart has happened is that in March of 2014, California Governor Jerry Brown invited Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel to come to California to sign a memorandum of understanding with the state of California. And now Israel is sharing its advanced technologies, advanced know-how with the state of California to try to help it get out of its big hole that it's in.
So talk about some of the top lessons that California and other regions should take away from what Israel has done.
Well, probably the most important thing to do is think about water in a complete, holistic way. So first of all, of course, conservation is important, but water is used more for agriculture than for anything else. And so rather than doom our future by pumping out our aquifers, our underground treasure troves of water, what we must do is we must think about how we are going to manage our water for today and for tomorrow. Since agriculture uses so much of the water, we have to transition in California and frankly everywhere from a system of where we flood our fields to a system where we use the Israeli technique of micro-irrigation, or sometimes called drip irrigation. That sipping, drippy drops of water on the plants transforms agricultural profile. Less water used, more water saved, and bigger yields, better crops for the farmers.
Well, most people probably don't even see water as a problem. They see it as a free, limitless resource. Why is that kind of thinking so dangerous?
Yeah, Laura, you put your finger on probably the single greatest problem. As long as we think of water as an inexhaustible resource like air or sunshine, as long as we think of it in those terms, we're never going to get out of this hole. Water, there's lots of water out there, but it's not limitless. And we have to think of it in those terms. We have to put a price on water. We have to encourage people to use water sensibly. People should not be constrained in their water use. We can live all the ample life we live. We don't need to stop watering our gardens. We don't need to stop having swimming pools. None of that stuff I'm talking about. But we have to think of it as a limited resource. And when we start thinking in those terms, when we start paying a price for the water we do use, everything will change because technology will then start to be used in a bigger, better way. As long as we're in the process of thinking of water as free, we're going to be sloppy with it. We're not going to use smart technology like the Israelis do. And what we're going to find ourselves doing is wasting it in enormous amounts, as we do currently all over the United States and around the world.
Could Israel use their water technology as a diplomatic tool? In other words, could cooperation on water between Israel and the Palestinians, for example, bring the region closer to peace?
Well, it's a great question. And not only can it does, and it is. I coined the phrase in the book, I use the phrase hydro-diplomacy. And Israel has brilliantly used its water know-how for a very long time now to open doors that would otherwise be shut in its face. Iran, which currently is an implacable foe of Israel's, in the 1960s, Israel used its water smarts as a way of opening the door to the Iranian government at that time. And from 62 until the Iranian Revolution in 79, I talk about in my book, Israel ran basically the water system of Iran and gave it a great water present. In addition, China and Israel had very harsh relations because China wanted nothing to do with Israel for a very long time. But to help get itself out of the hole it's in, China reached out to Israel to help them with its water, and that led to diplomatic relations. And vis-a-vis the Palestinians, not only can water not be an answer to war, but water is very much a bridge for peace. It's a way for dialogue currently, between the people of Israel and the Palestinians. And Israel today has such an abundance of water that it shares its water with the Palestinians in the West Bank and in Gaza, and also the people with the Kingdom of Jordan. About 55% of the water in the West Bank comes from Israeli supplies. So the Palestinians do very well by virtue of the fact that Israel is a water superpower.
Fascinating. Well, it's a great read, and it's an issue that affects each and every one of us. The book is called Let There Be Water, Israel's Solution for a Water-Starved World. Seth Siegel, thanks so much for being with us.
It's a pleasure being here. Thank you.